On behalf of Walmart and myself, I'd like to welcome you to our 2012 Veterans Day program. We're going to have a prayer by Dr. Michael George, but at this time we'd like to take a few minutes with a moment of silence.
God, we thank you for our country, for our veterans, the men and women that have served. We want to thank you that we still live in the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. In Jesus' name, amen.
And now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance given by Boy Scout Troop 128.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Bear with me. In honor of our Vietnam vets, I will be reading a proclamation which was given to us by the President of the United States. In commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, by the President of the United States of America, a proclamation. As we observe the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, we reflect with a solemn reverence upon the valor, what a time to get tongue-tied, of a generation that served with honor. We pay tribute to the more than 3 million servicemen and women who left their families to serve bravely a world away from everything they knew and everyone they loved. From Da Nang to Khe Sanh, from Hue to Saigon, and country's countless villages in between, they pushed through jungles and rice paddies, heat and monsoon, fighting heroically to protect the ideas we hold dear as Americans. Though more than a decade of combat over air, land, and sea, these proud Americans upheld the high traditions of our armed forces. As a grateful nation, we honor more than 58,000 patriots, their names etched in the black granite, who sacrificed all they had and all they would ever know. We draw inspiration from the heroes who suffered unspeakably as prisoners of war, yet who returned home with their heads held high. We pledge to keep faithfully with those who were wounded and still carried the scars of war, seen and unseen. With more than 1,600 of our servicemen still among the missing, we pledge as a nation to do everything in our power to bring these patrons home. In the reflection of the wall, we see the military family members and veterans who carry a pain that may never fade. May they find peace in knowing their loved ones endure, not only in medals and memories, but in the hearts of all Americans who are forever grateful for their service, value, and sacrifice. In recognition of a chapter of our nation's history that must never be forgotten, let us renew our sacred commitment to those who answered our country's call in Vietnam and those who await their safety in return. Beginning on Memorial Day 2012, the federal government will partner with local governments, private organizations, and communities across America to participate in the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. A 13-year program to honor and give thanks to a generation of proud Americans who saw our country through one of the most challenging missions we have ever faced. While no words will ever be fully worthy of their service, nor any honor truly befitting their sacrifice, let us remember that it is never too late to pay tribute to the men and women who answer the call of duty with courage and valor. Let us renew our commitment to the fullest possibility, accounting for those who have not returned. Throughout this commemoration, let us strive to live up to their example by showing our Vietnam vets, their families, and all who have served the fullest respect and support of a grateful nation. Now, therefore, I, Barack Obama, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim that May 28, 2012 through November 11, 2025 as the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. I call upon federal, state, and local officials to honor our Vietnam veterans, our fallen, our wounded, those unaccounted for, our former prisoners of war, their families, and all who have served with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hands this 25th day of May, in the year of our Lord, 2012, and of the independence of the United States of America, 236. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mary Albaugh from American Legion Post number 7.
I'm really honored to be here today. I participated earlier today in a wonderful Veterans Recognition Program. We had the parade down Main Street. We had a wonderful program at the VFW for all the veterans. And there were a lot of people on the street. And I appreciate everybody who's shopping and employees of Walmart to stop and come join us as we recognize all veterans today. And all those veterans, and you know who you are, if you're sitting and if you're not in uniform, please stand up so you can be recognized. This young gentleman standing over here, he'll be the last one to sit too. Let me introduce you to him. It's a special day for him today. We recognized him, or we didn't. The Upshur County Commissioners and City of Buckhannon, the mayor, declared today is Jimmy C. Kittle Day in the city of Buckhannon because he is one of the first, or one of the original members who began the Honor Guard. The Honor Guards are the ones who go to provide military services at funerals. And Jimmy Kittle is one of the original members. Let's give him a hand. Okay. And at this moment, we're going to have Mariah come up and sing a special song for us. You got to stay away from that speaker or the screech.
This is Dear Uncle Sam by Loretta Lynn. Dear Uncle Sam, I know you're a busy man, and tonight I write to you with tears and a heavy hand. My darling, answer when he got that call from you. You said you really need him, but you don't need him like I do. Don't misunderstand, I know he's fighting for our land. I really love my country, but I also love my man. He proudly wears the colors of the old red, white, and blue. And I will wear a heartache since he left me for you.
That's our new talent, Loretta Lynn. I want to tell you that we as veterans of our country have served faithfully, honorably, in the branch of service that we chose. As volunteers who made that choice, that sacrifice, and served, and continue to serve today as volunteers, it's still our choice. Why? Because we believe in God and country. We believe that our freedom, our country, and the people of our country are all worth fighting for. It's been that way since the Revolutionary days. On this Veterans Day, I'd like to ask you to join with us in continuing the fight for our freedom and our country. We ask you to remember those who served, those whose lives were lost, and remember those who never came home, so that we can have the liberty of standing right here in Walmart today in a public place to speak freely and openly without fear and retribution. God bless you, and God bless America. At this moment, Tyler and Brighton of the
Boy Scout Troop 128.
Here we go. They don't like it when I call them cupcakes. We're going to do an educational presentation because Miss Mary lost her paper I'm going to share with you. This is something that we do within the school systems through Upshur County. And these young men worked with me last year. You've grown a lot. But we're going to do it again for you here today. The Pledge of Allegiance. This is our pledge to our country. You've heard it a lot. What does it mean? I pledge allegiance.
I promise to be true.
To the flag.
To the sign of our country.
Of the United States of America.
Each state that joins to make our country.
And to the Republic.
A republic is a country where the people choose others to make laws for them. The government is for the people.
For which it stands.
The flag means the country.
One nation.
A single nation.
Under God.
The people believing in a supreme being.
Indivisible.
The country cannot be split in two parts.
With liberty and justice.
With freedom and fairness.
For all.
For each person in the country, you and me, the pledge says you are promising to be true to the United States of America.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. In honor of our veterans and our country, I'd like to introduce a good friend of the veteran community here. He's the president and CEO of PatriotHistory.org, Dr. Michael George.
As we look at these stars and these stripes, I want to take you on a little journey about this flag. You see, it was August of 1814, and General Ross of the British military and 4,000 men marched into Washington City, our nation's capital at that time. And in a day and a half, they set fire to every federal building, every government building, every symbol of our nation's independence. They pushed away President James Madison, and him and his wife had to flee for their lives into neighboring Virginia. And they took captive a local doctor by the name of Dr. William Beans. And the citizens of Washington City came to a young lawyer by the name of Francis Scott Key, and they asked him, will you go and try and negotiate a prisoner exchange of freedom for this local doctor that we love? Francis Scott Key told the citizens, he said, that's not my specialty, I'm just a young attorney, but I do know of a man. And so he contacted Colonel John Skinner. And with John Skinner and himself, they met with President Madison. And they got a citation from President Madison, and they headed north towards Baltimore, where they were holding captive Dr. William Beans. When they got to Baltimore Harbor, they were ushered aboard a huge, massive naval warship known as the Tonnant. And they were brought into the presence of Admiral Cockburn, a most wicked and vile naval officer for the British military. And they walked in and they began to lay out their plan. We're here to negotiate for the freedom of Dr. Beans and other soldiers that you may have captured. And they talked, they debated, and hours dragged on. And finally, Admiral Cockburn said yes, you can have his freedom. And Francis Scott Key was elated, he was excited because he had accomplished his mission. And they went forth and they went into where they were holding Dr. Beans. And Dr. Beans looked at them and he said, Francis, Colonel Skinner, come close, come close. I thought I would never see you again. And as he pulled them close, he said, gentlemen, America is in grave danger. What you do not know is that General Ross and 5,000 men are headed towards Baltimore. Their campaign is to destroy Fort McHenry, capture Baltimore, and take our leaders hostage. We must at all costs get off this ship and warn Fort McHenry. As they walked out to the door, they ran into Admiral Cockburn. And the man's countenance was now very hard. He said, gentlemen, it has come to my attention that you are aware of our upcoming campaign, and so I have decided that you will remain prisoner here aboard our vessel. Our Majesty's government has said this folly you call insurrection and rebellion is over. This thing you call revolution is to be no more. Our Majesty's government has issued me a decree that we will take out Fort McHenry. And that flag you have flying over there on the rampart, it will come down and you will come back under the fold of Great Britain. And let me remind you, gentlemen, that no nation on the face of this earth has ever withstood the full naval assault of the British Navy. And you look out in that harbor, gentlemen, and you watch the ship start to roll in. And that flag will come down, or we will flatten Fort McHenry. So Francis Scott Key, Dr. Beans, Colonel Skinner stood there. And they watched the ship begin to roll into harbor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 4 long, they couldn't count them all. And they listened as the captains and the crew began to make preparations. As they began to move the cannons and rockets into place, Francis Scott Key said he could hear them begin to cry out. Load, ram, charge, fire! Load, ram, charge, fire, fire, fire! And another and another. And before long he said, I couldn't stand it. 100 cannons going off at one time. And they pounded Fort McHenry. And they watched as Francis Scott Key began to get disheartened and thinking, oh no, America's lost, it's over. No home, no independence, no freedom. Colonel Skinner said, Francis, do not lose heart. Those men at Fort McHenry, they have courage. They will fight for that flag. Don't you understand, Francis? This country is God-breathed. Those are our colors. Do not give up heart. Throughout the entire day, they pounded that flag. And as nightfall came, they continued to watch in the distance. Just a small flag. Until about 3 or 4 in the morning, when all the armament was spent, they waited for the dawn. And when the dawn came, they no longer saw a small American flag falling over Fort McHenry. No, it had been replaced by a much larger flag, one that measured 30 by 42 feet, and it said, America had not fallen. We are still one nation under God, and we cannot be defeated. And Colonel Skinner, he turned and he looked at Francis, and he said, I have watched you write all day long. What is it that you've been scribbling on a piece of paper? He said, oh, nothing, just a poem. Dr. Bean said, read it to us. So he took the paper out and he said, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave? The last verse of that song says, oh, thus be it ever, where free men shall stand, betwixt the war's home and war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace, may this heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Conquer we must when our cause it is just, and this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner in triumph will wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave. I thank you. If you would please stand in honor of our flag and national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Beautifully done. Beautifully done. And these young people that are working here with us today, bringing you this Veterans Day program, they're the future of the United States of America. So be proud of them. Thank you.
Please give them a round of applause. I want to read you a very short little poem. It's called Veterans Day by Cheryl Dawson. On Veterans Day, we honor all who answer to service call. Soldiers young and soldiers old fought for freedom, brave and bold. Some have lived while others died, and some of them deserve, and all of them deserve our pride. We're proud of all the soldiers who keep thinking of red, white, and blue. They fought for us and all our rights. They fought through many days and nights. And though we may not know each name, we thank all veterans just the same. I would like to thank you at this time for coming out. We very much appreciate all of our veterans. We have some cake and refreshments over here off to the side. So one last time, if everybody will help me give a big, big, big round of applause to all of our veterans. And this concludes our event. So if you'd like to come here, we have some refreshments. Thank you.